is there a favorite moment? And I'm like, yes, there's a favorite moment, but I can't. It hasn't happened yet, and I can't talk about it. But it's amazing when it happens. I think it's going to be a lot of people's favorite moment. I think it's going to be it's a huge comic moment. It's actually a huge comic moment that wasn't, but should have been.
Alright, what is going on, guys? It's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Superman and Lois's fourth and final season has officially hit the halfway point this week, with episode 5 titled Break the Cycle. This was not only a big culmination episode where many of the storylines from the first half of the season came to a head, but also another bridge propelling us into the back half of the final season. All season long, Lex Luthor has been hell-bent on finding his daughter Elizabeth, who had been kept safe and off the grid by General Lane. Clark and Lois have come to terms with the reality that after dying and coming back to life, Clark might not ever be as powerful as he once was, forcing investigation into some alternative methods. John and Jordan try to fit into their new normal now that both boys have powers, and that makes it quite tough to live the life of a normal kid in Smallville. But with that said, guys, of course, spoiler warning if you have not seen episode 5 of Superman and Lois season 4, but with that out of the way, let's dive right into this episode breakdown. This week gave us another mix of various storylines, some converging and others very much so staying separate from the main plot. Lex Luthor was the overall focus this week, not just with what he's currently doing in Smallville, but also telling a bit more of his backstory through flashbacks. And a flashback is where we kick things off, giving us an insight not only on the end of Luthor's previous marriage, but also the events that transpired leading up to his arrest 17 years ago. Through the course of the flashbacks, we get a great feel for Lex's connection and love for his daughter despite all of the turmoil in his life with the divorce and imminent prison sentence. He continually made time for Elizabeth, trying to ensure her that everything would be alright, even going as far as to take her to school on the morning that Superman came to take him to Stryker's Island. These flashbacks really hammered home the importance of Lex's goal, starting with his release last season, and that goal of course being to reunite with his daughter. We get a great mirror to future events in the flashbacks. Elizabeth chooses to stay in Metropolis with her father rather than going with her mother. Ultimately, that choice was unfortunately made for her, but throughout the course of the episode, that decision gets to come back to the forefront. Side stories of the week, we have John and Jordan hanging out with some school friends for a 4th of July party. One of the friends reveals that she knows their father is Superman, as she was present the night Doomsday brought his heartless corpse to the middle of Smallville. Minor panic about yet another random knowing their family's secrets. However, the Super Sons sort of eventually just brush it off and are like, oh well, at least the Daily Planet doesn't know. Which certainly does make me wonder if that is some subtle foreshadowing. John's girlfriend Candace also comes back to town, and the boys spend all episode making up terrible stories for why John keeps running off to help Lois with his Superboy duties. Eventually, Jordan tells Candace everything off screen, and she and John are back on good terms by the end of the episode. Such a random choice to not only have Jordan tell Candace about the family secret instead of John, but for it to also happen off screen. Back to the main plot of the episode, Clark and Lois brainstorm plans to take down Luthor that does not involve a severely depowered Clark fighting Doomsday once again. Clark, of course, trying to stay hopeful throughout everything, decides to go talk to Lex face to face. He tries to appeal to him not just as Superman, but as Clark and as a father, apologizing for taking away 17 years from Lex, separating a father from his daughter. However, this was not nearly enough to turn Lex away from his ultimate goal, not only to get his daughter back, but also to make Lois Lane and her family suffer as much as he has. Lois, however, has a plan of her own in all of this. She tracks down Elizabeth Luthor, going against her father's mission of protection, and convinces her to come to Smallville to confront her father and try to talk him off the proverbial ledge. So there we have it, the long-awaited reunion. Lex and Elizabeth catch up at the diner, trying to make up for all of that lost time. Elizabeth has grown up, graduated medical school, and is even pregnant, and Lex has missed all of that. He reveals the worst part about being locked away for all those years was missing that valuable time with his daughter. I honestly really loved how the interaction played out. They went a long way to try and humanize and make the audience really sympathize with Lex Luthor. Up until now, we've only seen him as this master manipulator with a vengeance, hell-bent on destroying Lois and her family. But now we see the slightly softer side, the family man, the father that Lex Luthor could be. However, Lex does still show some of his true colors. Just when we thought everything was going smoothly, he brings back up his plan to spite Lois, and this, of course, does not sit well with Elizabeth. She brings up how in the past she wanted to stay with her father, but when he was taken to prison, she did not have a choice. But now, 17 years later, the two of them reunited. They have a choice. They can break the cycle. Sadly, Lex is filled with so much rage and contempt for the people who in his mind wrongfully put him in prison, and with that, Lex has made his choice. He once again drives his daughter away, and Lex is left truly alone on his quest for vengeance. Now he's got nothing left, nothing but his hate for Superman and Lois. The final storyline of the episode was Lois testing a theory involving Doomsday. She knew that he was once the Bizarro World Superman, and she has seen the look in his eyes that maybe a part of him is still in there. So Lois summons the Beast for an emotional chat and is actually seemingly able to break through to him. So that is one threat potentially taken care of, at least for now. Earlier in the episode, Clark went to talk to his mother at the fortress after his appeal to Lex failed, to try and find out where he went wrong in his fight against Doomsday, forcing him to relive that fateful fight. But now, after Lois's intervention, it seems like he won't really need to worry about finding Doomsday's weakness. Lois and Clark discuss the fallout of Lex choosing his vendetta over his own daughter, and are able to rest a little easier knowing that Lex is now without his greatest weapon. Theories for this week, I did throw that clip of Michael Cudlitz talking about a massive comic moment coming for Lex later this season. After we left this week's episode, I'm guessing that is the beard shaving and suiting up in his Lexo suit to try and take on Superman himself, now that Doomsday is out of the equation. This episode gave us another Milton Fine, aka Brainiac, name drop when Lex was trying to locate his daughter, so I'm guessing that means we are one step closer to actually seeing him appear on screen. Finally, not necessarily a theory, but more of a leak. There has been some concept art floating around of what could possibly be John and Jordan's full-on Superboy suits. They look incredible and draw inspiration from different iterations of the Superboy character in the comics. If this is an accurate representation of what these suits will look like, I think we're in for a real treat. Overall, guys, while this episode was certainly more enjoyable than last week with Kyle and Chrissy's wedding, this was still more or less another setup episode. We did not get a single action sequence and only saw Superman suited up for all of like a minute when he confronted Lex in both present day and the flashback. Really wanted to give a shout out to the cinematography and direction this episode. The framing of the first flashback scene with Lex against the rainy skyline of Metropolis goes incredibly hard. I did still really enjoy the slower, more intimate character moments, especially the reunion between Lex and Elizabeth. Michael Cudlitz proved once again that this final season is his show, and he really made his presence known in every single scene he was in. I did see another interview clip floating around with him talking about Lex, saying that he's not evil, just misunderstood, and I absolutely love it when the actor for a villain is of the mindset that their character is justified in everything that they are doing, and it really shines through in his performance. Heading into the back half of the season, of course, the tensions between Lex and the Kents is at an all-time high, and I cannot wait to see where we take things here as we round out the final season of Superman and Lois. But with that said, guys, I want to know your thoughts on all of this down there in the comments below. Do you think the threat of Doomsday is truly gone? What is Lex's next move after he's lost his greatest asset? And will we ever see Clark back at full strength or even beyond? Just let me know your thoughts on all of this down there in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Tazz, and I will see you guys in the next video.